What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Zero Lab. Today we are going to be starting to take a look at Stellar Crown decklist. Stellar Crown is the new expansion that is coming out here in September in just a couple of weeks, and I believe it's going to be on the TCG Live here in just a few days this coming Tuesday. So we want to start taking a look at some of the deck lists for new decks, old decks that are going to be using some of these new cards and that sort of thing. This set is going to shake things up quite a bit. And it's going to be really interesting to see what is good coming out of here. But today we're going to be starting off by taking a look at Charizard EX. Charizard has been a very strong deck for a very long time. In the Shrouded Fable format, it's had its ups and downs, certainly has a difficult time into the Regidrago V-Star deck. However, it's very strong into a lot of the other decks in the meta. And Charizard gains a few tools from Stellar Crown that's going to make this deck, I think, very strong. People are looking forward to trying out this new build of Charizard EX. Starting off, let's take a look at the deck list here. We have a 3-1-3 Charizard line and a 2-1-2 Pidgeot line. So we will take a look at this in a little bit more detail here as we go through the deck list. I think one of the things that we're seeing coming out of the Worlds format into the Stellar Crown format is Charizard has a tough time fitting everything that wants to fit in the deck into the deck, and 4 Charmander might just not be it anymore. Maybe 3 Charmander is enough, given that there's a couple of other things that we need to fit into the deck. Now the 2-1-2 Pidgeot line, before we're not playing the Pidgeotto a lot of the time, unless you were playing perhaps a TM Evolution, but we are not playing a TM Evolution. What we are actually playing is this new A-Spec card, the Grand Tree. So the Grand Tree, if you are not aware, we will take a look at what the Grand Tree does. The translation we've gotten here on Limitless is the Great Big Tree, but I believe it is officially going to be called Grand Tree. But it says, once during each player's turn, that player may search their deck for a Stage 1 Pokemon that evolves from one of their basic Pokemon in play and put it onto that Pokemon to evolve it. If they do, they may search their deck for a Stage 2 Pokemon that evolves from that Stage 1 Pokemon and put it onto that Pokemon to evolve it. Then that player shuffles their deck. You can't use this card to evolve a basic Pokemon during your first turn or on a Pokemon that was put into play this turn. So a very powerful A-Spec card here, searching our deck for evolutions and evolving all the way up into a Stage 2 from a basic without needing to use anything like Ultra Ball or any abilities to search out those Pokemon. It's just the Grand Tree is going to search our deck for those Pokemon and evolve them for us. That means we're saving a rare candy when we're evolving into things like Pidgeot, and that's one of the reasons we have the Pidgeotto in this deck now. You can utilize the Grand Tree to evolve from Pidgey into Pidgeotto into Pidgeot EX in one turn. Obviously, the Pidgey needs to already have been in play for a turn, so you can't cheat the evolution rules of like you put into a Pidgey into play turn 1 and then put Grand Tree into play and just like evolve up into a Pidgeot EX turn 1. You can't do that, but you can evolve all the way up through the Stage 1 and Stage 2 in the same turn once Pidgey has been in play for a turn. So there's a lot of things that this Grand Tree is going to unlock for us. 1, it's saving us rare candies. 2, it's allowing us to utilize the Duskull line, I think, more effectively. So you'll see we have a 2-1-1 Duskull line in this deck list. And I think a couple of issues with how Charizard's been using the Duskull line in the Shrouded Fable format. Sometimes it feels like you have to use all your resources to just like keep powering up another Charizard, keep making sure that you're gusting your opponent, all those things. And you don't always have the resources to like use Ultra Ball to find Dusknoir and then Pidgeot for rare candy and evolve and use that ability. There's times where your hand is really good and you can do all that. But now with the Grand Tree, you literally just have to have Duskull in play and Grand Tree in play, and you can evolve all the way up into a Dusknoir. You don't have to discard any cards from your hand with Ultra Ball to find those pieces. You're literally just evolving all the way up, and that's going to be very strong in this format. In this deck list as well, we have the 1-1 Bibarel line. We have Illuminaeon V, Rotom V, Fezandipiti, EX, Manaphy, and Radiant Charizard. All that's pretty standard. I think the 1-1 Bibarel line along with the Fezandipiti, that's kind of up in the air of if players still want to play the Bibarel. I still think the Bibarel is very strong along with the Fezandipiti. and can just give you some really good draw later in the game as well, especially since opponents are often trying to target down your Pidgeot. So you still want to have that draw power and that consistency. So I do think the 1/1 barrel line is still warranted in the deck, but that is certainly something that a player could cut if they were looking to add more cards. Then for our support accounts, we have 4 Arven, 2 Iono, 2 Boss's Orders, 1 Professor Turo, 1 Brier, and 1 Roxanne. So pretty standard supporter lineup. Obviously here for our A-Spec, we're no longer using the unfair stamp, so the Roxanne kind of sometimes slots into the deck list. Some players might not like the Roxanne, might prefer like a third Iono instead of Roxanne, but having that really strong disruption potential now that we're not playing unfair stamp as our A-Spec, we're playing the Grand Tree, that Roxanne is a good option. Now you might have seen this new supporter card of Brier. Brier is a new supporter card from the Stellar Miracle set. It says you can only use this card when your opponent has exactly 2 prize cards remaining. On the turn that you play this card, your Terra Pokemon take 1 more prize card when they knock out your opponent's active Pokemon. So Charizard EX is a Terra Pokemon, and so on the turn where your opponent has exactly 2 prize cards remaining, you can play Brier and your Charizard EX. If it knocks out a 2 prizer, you'll take 3 prizes. If it knocks out a 1 prizer, you'll take 2 prizes on that 1 prizer. So a very powerful effect. A lot of people know about Iron Hands EX and that Amp You Very Much effect. Now Charizard EX via a supporter, to be fair, on a very specific turn, but can have that sort of effect that the Iron Hands EX has. And what's really interesting is your opponents can't really play around this because they might, for example, go down to 3 prize cards remaining and then attempt to take a 2 prize knockout on the following turn to go down to 1 prize card remaining and just fully skip that 2 prize remaining turn. But with the Dusclops, and Dusknoir in your deck, as well as the Grand Tree and all that, you can force them to exactly 2 prize cards remaining. And then use this Brier to take an extra prize card when you take a knockout. So a very, very powerful effect. That's going to allow Charizard EX, I think, to win games a lot more quickly. Like imagine you take the first 2 prizes with Charizard EX, your opponent goes down to 2 prize cards remaining, let's say. You evolve into Dusknoir, you knock out a 1 prizer on your opponent's side of the field, and then you play Brier and you take 3 prize cards on their active 2 prizer with Charizard EX. That is very powerful. I think the Grand Tree, Brier, and the Dusknoir line have made Charizard a very powerful deck, and it's really interesting to see. It'll be really interesting to see how people choose to counter this in the new meta. I do think that Charizard EX will still have some struggles against Regidrago V-Star. One of the tough things about the Regidrago V-Star matchup for Charizard is that they're knocking out your Pidgeys often on turn 2. If Regidrago was able to go first, get the Dragapult in the discard pile, they can spread those 6 damage counters to your benched Pidgey, and then you don't have a Pidgeot to play the game with, and it's harder to make the game continue going as Charizard when you don't have that tutoring ability with that quick search ability on Pidgeot EX. So I guess we'll finish off talking about the deck list a little bit here. We have 4 Ultra Ball, 4 Buddy Poffin, 4 Rare Candy, 2 Nest Ball, 2 Super Rod, 2 Counter Catchers, 4 Sealstone, Defiance Band, the Grand Tree as our A-Spec for our Stadium, and then 5 Energy. A lot of players have been playing 5 Energy and a double Turbo Energy in the Shrouded Fable format. That's certainly something that you could try to slot into this list to start attacking with that Radiant Charizard even earlier. But it does seem for now that the Grand Tree is just the most busted, broken A-Spec card for Charizard. Unfair Stamp was great, Prime Catcher's great, all that's great. Hero's Cape, even in this format, the Shrouded Fable format currently, can be really good in Charizard, but the Grand Tree, when it comes out in Stellar Miracle, seems like it is going to be the A-Spec to play in the Charizard EX decks. What's really interesting about the Grand Tree as well, though, in other decks is there's a lot of decks that are trying to find creative ways to use Dusknoir, and with things like Silene and Roseanne's Backup and those sorts of things, there are ways to recycle the Grand Tree. So I would imagine there will be some creative decks out there. I don't know how good they'll be to utilize this Grand Tree to like continually be evolving up all the way into Dusknoirs. And the other interesting thing about the Grand Tree, obviously, is if you put it in play on your turn, your opponent is able to use it on their turn. So it'll be really interesting to see if there are certain decks that are playing like a 1/1 stage 2 line with a rare candy that decide maybe to slot in that stage 1, because if your opponent plays down a Grand Tree, you can utilize that Grand Tree and evolve all the way up. Thinking about decks like Chien Pao playing Frigibacks and Baxcalibur, but not playing the Arctibacks. There could be an argument if Grand Tree is like a heavily played stadium to just throw an Arctibacks in, because your opponent might just give you that free evolution all the way up into Baxcalibur by putting the Grand Tree into play. So that'll be really interesting. I think Charizard, though, is going to have a very strong effect on the Stellar Miracle or Stellar Crown meta. Stellar Miracle, I believe, was the Japanese name of the set. Stellar Crown is what it is here over in America. And yeah, this is going to be a very fun set. Look forward to a couple more decklist videos coming out from us here on the Zero Lab over the coming days, and hopefully we'll have some streams, the podcast, and everything going as we get into Stellar Crown here in this new season of Pokemon. So hope everyone's doing well. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you guys in the next video.